Hi, welcome to Tiny Garage Fabrication, the show where I either make it or break it. Today, working on the 1950 Ford F-1, I'm going to be making something that's very not normal. Underneath the seat bases, I'm going to make some blocks out of Delrin that a tray will slide into so that you can slide it out. And on that tray I'm going to mount my fuse block, the horn relay, the gauge panel, I guess that's what it is. And then there will be a second slider under the passenger seat which will basically act as an auxiliary glove box and maybe the mount for the manual airbag switches. Even though it has AccuAir on it and has the 3 buttons, you still have to have some type of manual control so that you can air the things up to tell the sensors where they want to be at. So it's kind of something that I completely forgot even needed to happen, but it does. So it's going to get 4 switches, 1 for each corner, make it as simple as possible, and those will probably be on that tray, and then I'll probably try to shape the rest of it so it's like another glove box. Just something you can slide out under the passenger seat, throw some junk in, slide it back in, and call it a day. So let's get to it. I obtained a large block of Delrin. It was a lot larger. Confession, I recorded this after I actually made the parts. But anyway, this was it was about 10 inches wide. It's 12 inches long. It's 1 5/8 inches thick. Delrin is a type of plastic. It's a polyacetal resin. It is pretty cool. It's very smooth. It is self-lubricating. I don't know how that works, but that's what they say it does. It's black. It cuts easy. It machines easy. It threads easy. And all of that is exactly why I got it, because we're going to do all of the above here in just a moment. On the table saw, and it looked like I was going buck wild with it. I kind of was. What I did is I put a 1/2 inch groove all the way down the middle of these, and let me show you why I did that. Well, first let's get to doing what I'm doing here. It's a series of holes in the side of this. This piece will sit inside there like so on the back side. So what I have to do is I have to drill and tap those 5 holes into this piece of Delrin. Now I know I set it up so that this first hole will be 1 inch back and 1/2 inch up from the bottom of this piece of Delrin. So that makes it kind of easy. What I'm going to do is find my tools. I've got just a real cheap measurer here, but it's square, and so is this Delrin. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 1/2 inch up from the bottom so that I can scribe a line. And after I get this mark across the bottom, then I'm going to scribe a line 1 inch in from the end. Now, I actually drew this so that the holes are 1 inch in from either end, which makes it easy for me, so that way I can cut all 4 of these, and drill all 4 of these exactly the same, and it doesn't matter which orientation or which side of the plate they go in, the holes will line up and match if the repeatability of the machine was correct. And it usually is. You know, these CNC machines cost enough these days that the repeatability is pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 inch from this forward edge. And then I will punch it, and then I will drill a hole. So, use an auto punch, set it right there, and contact. Alright, I have the correct bit for this. It's I'm putting a 1024 stainless steel screw into it. So the correct drill size for this is a number 25 drill, which is, I believe, 1.34, something like that. Anyway, size doesn't matter. It's a number 25 drill bit. I have it set up in my drill press across the shop. So I'm going to go ahead and drill it, and I'll come back. There we go. I got my hole drilled, 1/2 inch from the bottom, 1 inch from the end. I go ahead and tap this with a 1024 tap, and I drilled all the way through, so I'm going to go ahead and tap all the way through. What's awesome about this Delrin is that you can tap it pretty fast. It's not like steel where you have to go a quarter turn and break a chip and go back. You can just sit there and you can do the entire thing all at once. So there we go, that's the max depth for this tap. It's almost coming out the other side, but not quite. But my screws are only going to go in a little bit. You can see it like that. So this tapped plenty deep. Now we'll line up the rest of the holes. Okay, now the way this is set up, here's one of the sides that I have. This hole I've drilled to 3/16, which is the external diameter of a 1024 screw. These holes I drilled with a number 25, so they are the size of the hole that needs to be tapped. That way I can get a good true center. I actually could have left them a little bit smaller because my auto punch is just a little bit bigger than that hole, but it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my block that I just tapped, I'm going to put it in the direction it needs to be. I'm going to find my hole and screw in, this. And once it's tight and flush against the back, what I'm going to do, I probably won't be able to catch this on camera. I'm going to look through that hole until I see that scribed line. Sometimes it helps just to get a Sharpie and hit it up just so it has a little bit of iridescence to it. Kind of helps locate it through that hole. And there it is. Now once I see my scribed line, I can go ahead and center up the punch, knock my holes in all 5 positions. You can see those little dots right there, all of them lined up right on that line that I scribed. So I'm going to go across the room, drill these on the press, and I'll come right back to tap them. There we go, all 5 holes drilled all the way through. Now just to tap these things. 5 perfectly tapped holes. Now, let's see if it fits. So here we go. I've got my Delrin block with the 5 tapped holes in it. This is the seat side that I used to template it. Here's the other side of the seat. All these holes are already drilled out to 3/16, which is what I will need for it to go in. So, let's see if the stuff lines up. Look at that. Holes are drilled on a completely different piece. Well, they were marked on a different piece. Drilled off the part. Tapped in the vise. And it just fits perfect. So, the reason I did all of this is because I plan on having, I've mentioned in another video, there's going to be an aluminum plate that my fuse block sits on. I want the fuse block to be able to come out. So this way it's down here, it's hidden, it's under the seat, under a cover plate that will go in with these screws. And when I want it to slide out, if I can get a good shot of this, I machined the depth on these plates. Now, this is my first time trying this, you see. Hopefully, when that plate sits right inside here, come on, when it comes out, look at that, just barely misses. Comes straight out, has all the clearance in the world. Now this right here is the reason why you should have a plan. And this plan was pretty good, but I changed it so many times. These seat bases were on revision 14 or 16 in my CAD software. So that just shows that even if you have a good plan, it's going to change. I just kept adding and subtracting and adding and subtracting, but in the end, I'm pretty happy with what I got here. So the thing works. I've got 2 more of these to drill and tap to go under the passenger seat, even though that one probably won't even have a slider. But I'm going to go ahead and put the hardware in there anyway. That way if I decide to add a slider, I'll be good to go. Okay, well, that was a fun project. I know there's a lot more to go. I still need to make the actual panels that are going to slide in and out of the seat bases. I'm going to get an accurate measurement, or as accurate as possible, and I'm going to take my aluminum into work and I'm going to cut it on the big shear that we have there. That's just so much easier than trying to cut it on my bandsaw or with shears or with a grinder or whatever. You know, I just set the depth and hit a button and it cuts a square for me. So, you know, I'm going to cheat. I do use some tools that I don't have in the tiny garage, but when you have access to stuff like that, why not use it, right? So here we go. The sliders are bolted to the legs. Legs are bolted to the truck. I got the sheet of aluminum bent up. I put a 1-inch, it's about 1 1/8 flange that goes on the bottom here. I'm still going to have to clearance the corners a little bit for where the nutserts are going to go, but this locks it in place. There's going to be a plate that goes across this that'll kind of sandwich this to the seat base, locking it in place. So you can see, there's my fuse block, there's my gauge box, and say if the fuse blows and you need to look at it instead of trying to reach under the seat like this, the entire reason I did this entire dumb project, so you can pull the thing out, work on what you need to work on, and shove it back home. So that's why there's all of the extra wire on here. As you can see, the fuse block should be able to extend out to a reasonable space and then go back in. It'll be a lot smoother when it's all done. So I've got to cut a strip down here to run the wires in, probably rivet a piece back on over that. But it's going to go in, it's going to be functional, it's going to be unique, and it solves a problem. To make the front plates. I'm probably going to bead roll something into them. I still have to put, what are they called? Riv nuts into the front of the seats so that I can attach my screws. To make everything user-friendly, I go into those threaded riv nuts in order to pull the panel out. Very unlikely you're going to be carrying a wrench or anything with you to, take bolts off. So what I did is I got these. These are some little, it's a 1/4-20 thread. That's what the riv nut will be. It's got a big 1-inch, maybe even 1.25 inch, but it's a knurled knob. So those will attach the seat bases in. You can take them off by hand, put them back on by hand. So that way we'll be tool free. Be able to get under there to change your fuses or get into the accessory glove box or the manual ride height control. Just trying to make everything user friendly. Trying to think way outside of the box and do stuff that you don't normally see. That's just my style. I know it's a lot harder than doing things the easy way, but I like to put out a product that's got stuff that most people don't normally see. And I'm giving it to you for free now. So please take my ideas, implement it into your projects if you can, or if you want to. If you think they're cool, give me a comment and tell me so. If you think this stuff is dumb, also give me a comment and tell me so. But other than that, please give this video a like, subscribe if you like what I'm doing, if you like the way my channel's going, and let's keep building cool stuff. Thanks, everybody.